Well, I'm sitting up higher.
Well, this is in a hole, you know.
It's possible.
We're gonna have to turn that thing around, because that's real firm and this is real soft.
Okay.
All right, so we were talking about your making money by going out for the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would bring a bottle of wine with us.
This was you and Dan.
Yeah, Dan and I. And a bottle of wine and some bread and cheese for lunch. And then we set up,
But the bottle of wine was for
well,
the farmer.
that was for the farmers,
Yeah,
of course.
so that he would give you permission.
Now, where we went, there were cornfields all the way around and a big slough, which has now become a bird sanctuary. And we always used to go there, even with them on the weekends, you know, on Sunday. And then we set up this little, the first one we'd get, we'd stick it up there on a tree, and the birds that were feeding in the cornfields would come up there, and then would call them, you know. And sometimes we'd get 50, 100 at a crack.
Wow.
I think 800 was the most we ever got in one.
In one day.
Yeah.
You just shoot into this tree and then they'd keep coming back to it?
Yeah,
Or this
yeah,
this
they'd go
this
away,
limb?
they come back.
It was a limb that you would put up, a dead limb, or?
There was a dead one up there.
A dead bird.
Dead bird.
He used that as the
A decoy?
Jonah?
A decoy,
No, what
that's
do they
it.
call
Oh.
it? Yeah, a decoy.
And then while we're waiting for the next batch to come, we'd clean these, you know, take the feathers off and clean them all real nice, and then take them home. Every once in a while, Dan would go into the cornfield over there, and maybe he'd scare up a pheasant or something, and that we used to get $2 a piece for.
Wow. These were red-winged blackbirds that you were shooting?
All kinds. I know that now there's a law against redwings.
Yeah,
They've got some kind of a deal with Mexico.
right.
But in those days, we had snipe down there, we had everything. So then we'd take it home, and if we had a pheasant, we'd bring him over to her uncle, and he'd give us $2 a piece for him. That would be a good day. And the rest of them, we'd sell to the restaurant, Toscano's and Basho and the rest of them over there for 50 cents a dozen. Sometimes we used to make $4 or $5 a piece.
Well, if you got 800 birds though, that's more than $4 or $5.
Well, that's the time we went out with his father and
Stasio, was it?
who?
No, Mazzeti or Stasio?
Stasio and Mazzetti. We were 4 of us. Because I used to go hunting with her father quite a bit.
Oh.
He was quite a hunter.
Yeah,
And the whole Schimenti family were
okay.
hunters.
He was a
for
good
that matter.
mushroom hunter too.
Yeah. Oh,
He knew his mushrooms.
we used to go up to Beloit for mushrooms. Her mother dreaded when we'd come back because it was her job to clean them and jar them. But anyway, so then by Friday night we'd get home and we'd decide where we're going to go. Saturday night we used to take the girls out for hamburgers and tour show maybe, you know. And that was it. On Sundays, sometimes we would go out on a torture ride. Up to Crystal Lake or
Coghill.
yeah,
I remember Coghill that
Oh,
time.
that time. You know, Raymond Nicolai was never a mechanical man. He was always working in the office. All his life he worked in offices. So Dan and I said, let's give the girls a little treat. So we were driving my car, and all of a sudden the horse barometer ignition shut off. And we were stuck out there in the sticks, because Coghill was down in near Plainfield someplace. Anyway, so Raymond Nicolai says, I'll fix the damn thing, you know. So I give him a hammer, I says, go ahead. He takes the hammer, lifts the hood, you know, and starts banging on something over there. And after a little while, we started the car up. Raymond Nicolai fixed it. And all the girls were saying, I thought you didn't know anything about cars and blah, 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 blah. Oh, that was,
He is cute.
and that's the way we passed our teenage youth.
Yeah.
So then by the,
Well, Dan and Laura got married first, and then Ray and Dora. As a matter of fact, I wore Dora's veil, not the cap, but, you know, the illusion, that. And then you and I got married.
yeah.
Tell about, when did you decide to get married, and then what happened? Did you have to talk to her
Well, it was a
father?
foregone conclusion, I mean.
Oh, was it?
Absolutely. The minute she turned 18.
Well,
So
Well, how did you feel
for one
about
thing,
that,
he
Lola?
gave me an engagement ring, and then the cedar chest.
Yeah.
And my mother liked the cedar chest so much, she went and got one for herself right away, same thing. That's why there's two matching ones in there.
Oh,
And during the 1933 World's Fair,
Yeah, but then when you went to ask my dad.
oh yeah, well that
to
was,
get married,
she was, well, what was it? It was in the spring,
yeah, I had just turned 18.
yeah, and so I went to Lawrence, I said, hey, you know, we've been thinking about getting married.
We wanted to get married in May.
And he says, well, hey, come around sometime, he said, we'll talk about it. He wouldn't give me a yes or a no. So I told him, I said, look, I said, she's going to be 18 pretty soon, we're going to get married whether you like it or not. So you might as well give us your consent and be done with it. So anyway, her mother was the one that was really against us getting married.
really?
She did everything to break us up.
Oh, Dino, not
Oh, yes. This gang business was partly hers. She told everybody, don't leave them alone because I don't trust it.
well. Probably, I don't know.
She probably had good reason not to trust you.
No, listen,
No?
I was never a womanizer. The reputation I got was for being a reckless driver. That's it. But as far as going out with girls and stuff, I never did.
But what about going out with Lola?
Well, she was the exception, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But she didn't have to worry about the two of you being out?
We were never alone.
We were
Oh.
no, because if we weren't with the gang, we were out with Mary and Louie.
Oh yeah, never alone, never.
So, very.
So there's no
I
chance
can't-
and
I
no
can't
hanky-panky
remember.
going on,
Yeah,
I'll tell you
I
that.
can't remember that. But,
So, okay, by that time then I was settled down quite a bit. I was
Yeah.
what, 25?
well, then you went to work at International Harvest.
Well, no, the Depression really started back in 1930. So 31 and 32 and 33
Very
were
bad.
very bad.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a job for love of money. So Dan and I kept that thing up for quite a while. And I'll never forget the time we were sitting in front of Renato's house. And Dan said, boy, if somebody would approach me and offer me a lifetime job with $40 a week, he said, I'd sign it right away. And how many times I threw that up to him
Yeah.
when he became executive vice president at International Harvester Company.
Well, at that age, and the way things were, $40 a week sounded like a
Oh,
fortune.
it was.
An absolute
So,
fortune.
1934 is when I first went to work at IH. Of course, my father was still there,
And my dad
and
started.
her
working
father
there
and I started about the same
same
time, and Dan and I also. See, Dan's father was kind of like a setup man up there, and he was get to be well known. He was there for a long time, and he got Dan a job working there during the summer vacation while he was going to high school. So by the time that he got the permanent job, he already had 4 years of service. So he's got 4 years on me, and actually he only worked there during the summer, 2 months in the summer. And but when he got up high enough, he declared himself 4 more years of service.
Yeah, well, sure.
So anyway, well, what the hell, he got to be works manager.
Yeah.
So what were you doing when you first started there?
Well, my father actually was in the packing department. That's all he ever did. And I went to work as an order picker in the warehouse. We'd pick the stuff up, bring it up to the benches, and he used to pack them and nail them in the boxes.
Mostly parts, weren't they? Just parts.
Oh, service parts, of
Yeah.
course.
Mm-hmm.
That was the old Department 12. And when we decided to get married, I asked the general foreman there at those days he was just a foreman, there was no general foreman. The works manager was known as the superintendent. And I asked for a transfer to the assembly line because those guys were making a little bit more money. I was only making $17 a week for 44 hours, half a day on Saturday. And so Mike Lysek, who was the employment manager, when I went in there to see him, he wanted to fire me. He said, "You got a lot of damn nerve." He said, "You're only here a couple of years and you're asking for a transfer already? There's guys that are in here 10 years that haven't gotten it." I said, "Well, I'm sorry." I said, "But that's the situation. I want to get married and I'm not making enough money. So I'd like to get a transfer." And the one that saved me was the assistant foreman, Big Bill Ozenberg. He was a real nice guy. It just happened that next day, John Liebold, who was the foreman, didn't show up. And Big Bill came to the employment office with me and saved my hide. So then they sent me to the punch press department. That was another deal.
Risky.
You
Yeah,
better believe
I
it.
bet.
I stayed there for a couple of months, and when I saw guys losing their fingers on those machines, that was it for me. So I went, I saw her uncle Vic and her uncle Caesar were working in the machine shop department. Her father was working in the tool room.
Yeah.
He was a tool and die maker, actually,
Yeah. He was very
He was a
fine.
man of all trades.
Very skilled.
As it turned out, he got to run a machine in 1934 that he ran during the First World War. That's how old that equipment was. You wonder how that company went broke. Anyway, I kept after the
Well,
general.
enough of the job. Now,
Well,
Go.
all right, that was
Yeah.
part of the life.
yeah, that is.
So then what happened?
Well, then you were promoted to
To setup man.
setup man, and then you were promoted again to foreman,
To foreman.
and then to general foreman.
Right.
Yeah. And
And you still weren't married?
Hmm?
And you still weren't married?
Yeah, we were